Welcome back to another episode of the Be the CEO of Your Life and Business podcast. This week, we will be talking about the topic of modeling behaviors for your kids, and especially as business owners. I think that this has been a really fun topic for us this week because not only will Laura share how she has helped model some of these behaviors of success and growing her business and what that looks like, as well as some personal habits that she's modeling. I also am going to share a little bit of insight too into some behaviors and models that of modeling that I've been doing for Olivia this week, because she's been a little bit more curious with me specifically about like home workouts and why do I have meetings to go to. So it's been really fun to be able to have these conversations with our kids. So we thought that this would be a great topic to share, especially for those working parents or business owners that have children that are watching every move that they make and maybe questioning why they're spending their time in certain ways.
And I think it's good to think about how, especially as they get a little bit older, how old is Olivia now? 6?
She's 6.
Right. So she's at an age now where she's getting a little bit older and is going to become more curious about what you're doing. For me, my kids are 13, 11, and 10. And so, they're a little bit older now. And especially this week, they've been on spring break, which in the past has typically been a complete nightmare. Because like Kaylee said to me, Mommy, aren't you on spring break this week? And I was like, no, we don't have spring break.
We don't get that.
So, I was trying to explain to her that if you're a teacher or you work for a school district or something like that, you will have the same breaks as the schools do. But otherwise, in our profession, we don't get spring break, summer vacation. No, it would be nice, but we don't have that. So what I did this week, I said, you know what, I think it would be a good time to incorporate her. The boys are off doing their own thing, but she is more attached to me and is more interested in what I'm doing. So now that we are in our office 5 days a week, I said, you know what, let me see if she can come hang out here and keep her busy for a little bit.
Right.
And so she was here on Monday. And then she was here. And after Monday, she was like, can I come back again on Tuesday? I said, of course. And she was so good. And she was asking me all these questions. She was like, can you see on the board what she wrote?
Oh,
I don't know if you can see that on YouTube. You probably can't see it, but she wrote, I'm your assistant from Kaylee with a big heart.
She's so cute.
And, so, it was actually fun having her here. I think it was Tuesday morning. I brought her here. She packed her lunch. So she sees the things that I do on a daily basis, like, and you do the same thing. We always pack our food. We bring our lunch. We bring our snacks. She had her bag ready to go. She brought a notebook, like a planner, because, I always have my planner. She packed her lunch, a separate cooler, her lunch, her snacks. She came in, she put everything in the refrigerator. It was really hilarious and so cute at the same time. But she came in and she's like, okay, I'm going to be your assistant for the day. She sat at the desk behind me. I brought her a laptop. She made a spreadsheet for her homework. Like she was doing things to keep herself busy. Yeah, Tuesday afternoon, I had her. She was like, can I do shredding? I was like, yes. You want to help me do that? That's fine. She organized my desk drawers. Like she was so interested. And Tuesday night, she said to me, Mommy, I want to learn more about what you do. And I thought that was she's only 10. Like she's still a kid. She's a little bit older, but she's still really young.
Yeah.
And so, it's been interesting to have her here and explain to her like what you do and what Dawn does and what Danielle does and what I do. And so she's starting to learn a little bit more about what we do as a business. And I'm trying to explain to her as a business owner what our responsibilities are. And I think it's a really good example to show her what options are out there for her and what it means to actually run a business and to have employees and to have to manage your time. She's really starting to understand that, which is evidenced by the fact that she made her own spreadsheet for her homework and stuff like that. But it's interesting.
It's so interesting. My favorite Kaylee Katina line this week was like, wow, you guys have great ideas.
Yes.
Because she was sitting in with a meeting with us and we like honestly completely forgot, like not like there's anything that we're talking about that Kaylee Katina would go running and telling her friends, but like to the extent that we were just talking about some admin items for the office. And she's like, wow, you guys have great ideas. Like, this is amazing. And it was great to have her there to like really witness that. And so on the flip side, I have spring break coming up for my kids next week. Well, for Olivia, because my son's still going to be in daycare for the week. So I'm trying to see how I can incorporate that into my routine with her, because when I worked from home and she would have days off, or like at the very beginning before I had her in an aftercare program, I would pick her up and she knew I still had to get work done for my day. I wasn't done with my work day. It was simply that I was picking her up and bringing her home from her school day. And she would be really good for the most part of just knowing that that's time that mommy has to get her work done. But now, she gets little homework assignments. She has a workbook for math that she could do work in. And I'm just trying to come up with creative ways to incorporate more of those habits. And I had an incredible conversation yesterday, actually, with a colleague of mine talking about kids and education and how they learn. And one of the most important things that he's in the school system, so he provided this insight for me. He said, it's all about your kids' habits. It's not necessarily about them grasping concepts, when they're really little. They're going to stumble, and some kids learn at a different pace, and some of them are late starts to like reading, but their habits of work are so important. And it reminded me of how I grew up, like seeing my mom working from home, and she had her own businesses and she was always bringing us along for the ride, but how she made, when we came home from school, our education and getting our homework done was so important. And we had that mentality kind of translate into how we showed up for work in our professional lives moving forward. So it's great to be able to take a second and reevaluate, okay, what kind of behaviors can I start working on and molding for my kids at these younger ages? Because they will start to see, okay, I have to get my work done before I can do anything fun. My mom is running a business. So that means that when she's on a call, it needs to be quiet so that she can take care of that. All of these little things that they're paying attention to, you don't realize it.
And it's so funny because when my kids were Olivia's age, this was a nightmare for me. Like when they were off, because I was working for somebody else at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when they had a break, it was like my worst nightmare. I had to find somebody to watch them,
Right.
and figure out what the schedule was going to be. And it was like a circus, and it really, really stressed me out. And I kind of flipped that around this time and said to myself, okay, obviously they're going to be home. There's nothing I could do. So instead of stressing myself out and making myself sick like I would normally do, I said, how can I incorporate them into my week, into my work week? And Matthew's 13. He wants no part of what I'm doing. So he's just home. He's hanging out with his friends. He's whatever. He's busy. Chris has been sleeping at a friend's house the last 2 nights, which he's having the best time. But I said, okay, I'm going to go to the office this week and I'm going to bring Kaylee. And originally I said, let's just try it for the morning, bring her for the morning, see how long she lasts. And she wanted to be here the whole day. She was having so much fun. Tuesday, she had an event for her softball team. So I did arrange for my mom to take her to that. So my mom literally came to the office, picked her up, took her to the event, and then Kaylee wanted to come back after the event. So my mom brought her back here and we finished out the workday here. But I had to change my mindset a little bit. And of course I can do that now because they are older. But I really had to change my mindset about it and stop looking at it like it's my worst nightmare, which is how I used to view it. And say, okay, how can I rearrange this week so that it's not so awful for me and so stressful? And I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it's a matter of perspective, because you took something that would normally stress you out and figured out how to make it like a teaching moment for at least Kaylee, because the boys, right, they're off doing their own thing. But making it a teaching moment. And there's so much of that overwhelm of oh gosh, how am I going to handle these schedules and what am I going to do? And I felt myself getting into that trap because I know how bored Olivia can get if she gets bored doing something or sitting for too long or doing the same thing. Then I'm like, she might actually really enjoy, because she's very curious about what I do. She's curious about what kind of phone calls I'm taking. She's curious when I tell her I have to go to a court appearance or I have to be in a meeting. Well, what does that mean? And, it's tough. I have to explain it to her in a way that still doesn't necessarily make 100% sense to her. But at the same time, taking away the specifics for a moment, she's seeing how hard I'm working. She's seeing that I have to go to the office and get my work done, that I have to go to these meetings and I have to carve out time to have these, calls and these conferences. And modeling that for her doesn't just show that I'm dedicated to my work, but it also hopefully in the future will instill in her those similar behaviors of what it takes to work really hard. I was always afraid when I had kids that I was going to look like a workaholic to them, especially being an attorney and knowing how stressful it is, knowing how long the days could be. I was so nervous about them thinking like, oh, you're putting me in an aftercare program, or, oh, I'm at daycare longer than all of the other kids. And I'm just hopeful that I can figure out the best way alongside my husband, who's also incredibly busy, that we can come up with the best way to explain to them and have them understand that this is what we're doing to help bring success and bring good things to our family. And that this is the hard work that you have to put in order to do a good job on something.
And this applies to your personal habits.
Oh,
also.
Totally.
So the other thing that I've been doing with Kaylee is, she doesn't feel great about her weight. And I'm trying to emphasize to her that it's more about, like, I want her to feel good, like feel healthy. It's not about the number on the scale. And we have a new workout program that came out this week. It's an old one that we've done 1,000 times, but they kind of revamped it. And so I started doing that last Saturday. And she said, Mommy, can I do that with you? I said, of course. It was like music to my ears. I was so excited.
So fun.
And because it's a 30-minute program, she can totally do it. She's very strong. She's very athletic. And so she could definitely handle it. So we printed out the 21-day fix calendars. I made one for me, one for her.
So
she wrote her name on the top.
Love it.
And every morning she's been doing it with me and checking off the workout on the calendar. And those cards that came with Bar Blend.
Yes.
What is it called? Is it
yeah.
Bar Blend, right?
Yeah.
They're I am cards. So something like I am amazing or I am present, whatever. There's like a million different cards and they all came in a box. And I said to her, I said, why don't you pick a card every day and we'll focus on that word for the day. So every morning she's been taking a card out of the box and I'm loving it. She's really sticking to it. Yesterday morning, I had to go to court in Brooklyn. So I had to get up a lot earlier. I said, Kaylee, just sleep in. Like, you don't need to get up when I get up. So she slept in. I did my workout. I left for court. And on my way back, I wanted to see if she wanted to go to my brother's house to see her cousins. So I called Mike. It was like 10:30 and he's calling for her. And he's like, where is she? He was like, she's in the basement doing the workout.
Oh my gosh.
She went down there on her own. I wasn't home. Mike didn't tell her to do it. She went down there on her own, did Dirty 30, our favorite 21-day fix workout, did it by herself. And also told me when I picked her up to take her to my brother's house, she picked her own card for the day without me being there.
I love
and
it.
So she's learning good habits, right? Like positive reinforcement. She wants to feel good. So she's committed to doing her workout. She, choosing a different card every day helps her. So she's picking a card on her own. I forgot. I was like, Kaylee, what was your card today? She said, I am awesome. I said, well, you are awesome. So, when you do, she has seen me for all of her life do these workouts every day. And now that she's a little bit older, she says to herself, I want to do that.
I love
and you know what? If that's the habit she chooses to follow, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Really.
I have a similar, well, Olivia's not doing a program with me, but she knows who my favorite trainer is. And so she'll come downstairs and while I'm working out in the morning and she'll be like, Mommy, are you working out with our favorite trainer?
She's so cute.
And, we had we had a star of the week presentation. So each student in her class gets a specific week where their parents can come in and do like a book and a craft and something else. So for her presentation, my husband brought the town's fire truck because he's a volunteer firefighter. And it was very firefighter focused. And it was really funny because the teacher was like, "What do you like to do with your mom?" And she was like, "Workouts." And I was like, "All right, you know what? Yeah." And I was like, "I'll take that. That's fine." Like, we do workouts together. And we do, like, she's done dancing workouts with me before. We've done like some cardio workouts because she doesn't really have the strength to use any of the weights. But she has like her own little headband that she goes and gets and puts on, and it's just so fun. But she knows that every day that that's a priority for me and that I always carve out time for some sort of workout. And even too with, just eating a bit healthier, I tell her like, I need you to incorporate healthy choices. So what is a healthy choice that you could have? And so now she knows, like, if she's asking me for a snack, she'd be like, "Mommy, I want something, but I'll make sure it's healthy." And she asks for like cut up strawberries or grapes or something like that, or a string cheese, whatever it is. And it's just good to actually see that feedback. Like, you don't get that when your kids are really, really little.
Yeah.
They don't get it yet. But when they start to get it, you're like, wow, they really do watch everything. And then when it comes to our son, he's funny. He'll run to the basement door when he wakes up in the morning because he knows that that's normally where I am. And he's knocking on the door like, "Mommy, work out, mommy." And it's just so cute because even he knows what our routines are and our habits are.
Yeah, they really, really do watch
Everything.
And so even, how I write in a journal every
Mhm.
day, Kaylee has a journal.
I
And
think that's
sometimes
so
she'll
amazing.
write in it and I'll say, and even if she's not writing in it, I think it was last Saturday when we did the first 21-day fix workout. I said, all right, I'm gonna, just do my journal before we start the workout. And I was like, why don't you tell me 3 things you're grateful for today? And she did. And
Love
she
it.
doesn't have to be writing it down, but even just, asking her about it
Mhm.
gets her into that mindset
Yeah.
of what am I grateful for today? And I'd rather have her focusing on those kinds of things than what she's seeing on TikTok. Like,
Right.
there's so much garbage out there. These kids are growing up in a totally different day and age than we did.
Yeah.
And there's so much garbage out there for them to see. So I think it's easy. I do think it's harder for them growing up
I
today
agree.
than
I
it
agree.
was for us because of what they're exposed to.
Yeah.
And I feel like they just grow up so much faster. So if I can, take some small steps to try to redirect what she's focusing on to something positive as opposed to TikTok or something else, then that's what I want to do. And it seems to be working a little bit.
Yeah.
And I try to get her, like, she's not a machine, right? Just like we're human beings, we're not machines. So it was yesterday or 2 days ago when we were working out, she was like, "I'm really sore," and I was like, drop the weights, follow them out. Like, you don't have to kill yourself every day.
Yeah.
Just do something
Mhm.
because movement is good for you, even if you're doing something without weights.
Right.
So I don't want her to become like addicted. You know what I'm saying? Like, to feel like she has to do this and she has to look a certain way and be a certain way, but just have that habit of like, doing something is better than nothing.
Yeah, these are all just great teachable moments. And like, we don't have it all figured out. Like, our
Nope.
kids still have,
Absolutely not.
eh, issues that we have to deal with, and they're not like perfect waiting for us at the door to like go downstairs and do a
Oh, please.
workout or please and thank you all the time. Like, there's not all of that. It's been a really nice reminder this week alone that we have the ability to really help mold and model the behaviors that we want our kids to exhibit because they do absorb everything. They're not listening necessarily to how you say things or what you say, although Olivia comes out with things that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I definitely would say that." Like, I know that that's coming from me, or like it comes from my
Yeah.
husband, and she negotiates everything. So like, really concerned if she wants to be an attorney. It's going to be scary. But the fact that you can start to create these small habits of just having a routine, or the importance of taking care of yourself and putting yourself first and filling your cup, like we always talk about. And then when it comes to work, I have always said since that moment where I was like, how are we going to be there for your kids, right? When you start to quantify how
Yeah.
many hours of our day we spend at work, Like I spend more time with Laura every single day than I do with my own family. And that's just how work works, right?
Right.
And your kids, they only see you for a short period of time. So when you start to put that in perspective and say, okay, then how can I make the most of that time? And by not being there, your kids are still learning something. And it's up to you to kind of instill what that something is that they're learning from you.
Yes. So it can be chaotic. It is stressful. We don't want anybody to think we have it all together because
No.
we certainly do not.
No. But it was a fun week, and it's
But
going to be
it
a fun
was,
week coming
you
up.
know what? It was very interesting to change my mindset about it and to really think about what habits are we focusing on
Yeah.
in our own life that our kids are watching, and then we can model for them. So as they get older, you can begin to incorporate your kids and expose them to these behaviors. And it's actually been pretty fun. So we hope these tips were helpful. We thank you for spending time with us, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.